today's video, we're going to look at data types. The basic ones, you'll mostly see this called primitive data types. So as you can see, I already wrote up here for ease of use, strings, integers, float, boolean. So let's, if you remember from a previous video, we looked at the length of a string. So we looked at, when we were doing inputs on names, we would do the length and see how many letters there were in that name, right? So for example, we print the length function of Jan. Like we use Jan quite a bit then. Make sure we close, gotta make sure, see how it's still open? See all this black spot right here versus this gray spot? That means we're not all the way closed. So let's close all the way. Let's go ahead and save it. Let me see 3. Okay, not a problem. I don't understand it. Well, let's look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 7, 9. Let's see what the length of this is. Okay. Here's what we're looking for. If we look down in the console down here, type error. Object of type int has no length. To understand what this error means, we have to know the basic data types. Okay, int, as we probably would imagine off the top of your head, int is referring to integers. This is not a string. If you notice, there's no quotation marks. It's not in green, right? So now we're doing a length of integers, and that's a type error. Object of type int has no length. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the lesson. So of course we understand strings, easy, right? So print, let's go general method. Okay. Now we have the quotation marks. Now it's green. Run it, Jonathan. Easy. Okay. But what we can also do is look, this is a good time to go ahead and look at subscripting, okay? So we can understand the places in here. So when we have length, we're counting the subscript, okay? So for example, 0. What is this gonna print? Just a J. Okay, place 0. So we have to understand when we are indexing these letters, we are 0 based, meaning we start with 0. Okay, so when we do 0, we get the J. When we do 1, which would be what we would think we would start with, we actually get the O, which is a second. Okay. So when we count, remember we're 1 off because we actually start at 0. Okay. All right. So if we see 6, that's the A. All right. Now I've created a little animation. A little diagram, let's say, not animation, to help better understand this. So we're going to go to that, and when we get back, we'll look at the other data types. Okay, I made this little animation here just to kind of show what we're looking at as far as subscripting. Hopefully this will help understand this a little bit better. Okay. So we see 6, 9, 4, 8, 3, right? But when we look down, we see that the index, 6 is at the index of 0, 9 is at the index of 1, 4 is at the index of 2, 8 is at the index of 3, 3 is at the index of 4, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, but when we got 4 indexed. So if we were looking for the 5th number, we would use 4. We would subtract 1 from it and use 4 because this is 0 base. This is 1's base when we count that, but this is 0's base down here, okay? So think about it, if we were going to the 4th one, that'd be 1, 2, 3, but we did subtract 1 and be at the index of 2, okay? So hopefully this helps understand a little bit more about what we're doing with subscripting, okay? Let's get back to the class. Okay, hopefully now we better understand subscripting. Now let's look at the integers, okay? So when we're looking at integers, we are looking at numbers without a decimal point, okay? So we look at print looking at numbers 1, 2, 3, anything in here, 8, 7, 2, 6. These are all integers. They do not have a decimal point, okay? So this type is different than this type. Thorny and any other IDE is gonna go ahead and color them different depending on what kind of a plugin you have. Now's not time to go into that, but you can have different styles. So Jonathan is the string. See the exclamation point. You see the quotation marks, and it's green. These are more like a rose color or something, whatever. But it's obviously different, okay? So we understand that. Now, float. Float is important because it is a number with a decimal point, okay? This is different, okay? We have to understand that if we are needing to use numbers with a decimal point, that we are using the data type of float and not the data type of integer, okay? And a lot of times to make sure that this is taken care of, if you're using a number, you'll use a number like 1.0, 2.0, just add that there so that you can have that extra surety rather than just the number, the integer number, when you're doing math or whatever, okay? So this would be like 5. This is a float, 1.25, right? Obviously, we'll see this a lot like with pi, using pi or something like that, okay? Our last data type is a Boolean. Yes or true or false, 0 or 1. Let's stick with true or false right now. So what we have here is we could use true, false, and now we can print true and false. So don't think that, oh no, we yeah, as you see, I had to bring my print down because I was confusing IDE there. That we can now print true or false if we need to actually print. If we actually have to print the words, we can actually do that as a string, inside a string, okay? We can also get these and say, let's think of a conditional statement just to better show what looks like. So let's go ahead. If 3 is greater than 10, then true, then print this is true, else print. Make sure I have something here that I should show this. It's not true. Oops. Gotta make sure you close your stuff. Okay. So yeah, so you gotta look at that equal sign. The first equal sign I used was to show a variable. This equal is actually if it equals, okay, like we would understand in math. So is 3 greater than 10? If 3 greater than 10 equals true, print this is true, else this is not true. So we look down here and we have, I'm going to comment these out so that we can show this a little bit easier here. Everyone remembers how to comment out, right? In JavaScript, there's an easier way to comment a whole block out. In Python, it's a little bit more monotonous. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this again. Okay, so let's understand this. Let's go into the debugger here and actually look at what we're trying to accomplish here. So we're going to debug this. Okay, we're going to step in. Okay, so now we're looking at this statement here. This side of the equals 3 greater than 10. 3, 10. So it's 3 greater than 10. So it understands two integers are being compared now. False. Okay, so we understand that side equal sign to be false. Now, what do we look at on this side of the equal sign? Double equals true. So now we're looking, does false equal true? False. The Boolean type is false. So then we go down to the else statement. This is not true. So it prints, this is not true. Okay. Now let's look at this different. What do we think this is going to give us? This is true. Okay. Let's look at this. Look at this statement. Oh, we're going to step into it. Okay. All right, here we go again. Is 3 less than 10? 3, 10, true. Okay, it's true. Does true equal true? True. So this is true. Okay. This should help you understand Boolean types a little bit better. Okay. So let's do this in the negative sort of fashion. What are we going to print here? Take a second, think about it. This is not true, right? Because we're asking in this statement, is it false? Okay. Doesn't matter how we word it here. Okay. That's just what we're printing. So let's look at this. All that matters here is that we're looking at is 3 greater than 10 equal to false. 3 greater than 10, I mean less than 10, sorry, is true. So now we make the comparison. Is true equal to false? Two Boolean types, okay? No, that's false. And what happens when it's false? This is not true. Even though it actually is, So that would be an error on our part, obviously, but that's not the point here. The point here is to see how this data type reacts. Went in a little more in depth on this one because Boolean types are essential to understand when we're dealing with if statements, and a little bit hard to show just by looking at it and talking about it. I wanted to kind of show a little statement here. So this is where we're at. We have to know these 4 basic or primitive data types to go any further in this coding basic course. Okay, so rewatch this, look at it, get it down, and we'll come back for another lesson. Thank you.